My name is David Hanson. I'm a certified academic language therapist, a qualified instructor. I have 3 amazing kiddos. 2 of them are twins, and I have a wife of 15 years, soon to be 16. Live up in Bentonville, Arkansas. I'm a lecturer, professor at the University of Arkansas, where I created the dyslexia endorsement program. I'm also out training people to become certified academic language therapists throughout Nashville, Tennessee, and state of Arkansas. So my parents are wonderful. I'm the baby of 3. They called us the Neapolitan family because if you looked at the 3 of us, we are 3 siblings. We don't look anything alike. My mom has a 10th grade education. She moved around a lot, came from a very difficult background. When I say difficult, I mean pretty difficult. So dropping out in 10th grade was her only option at that time. My dad has a high school education. He had a chance to go to college for free, but he was a farming gentleman on the Hanson farm, and he just went straight into carpentry. Small town family, small town cycle of life that they just, kids do what their parents did, and it just kind of recycles. Hardworking family. My parents were not in the social world. They didn't like to be part of the bar scene or any of those activities that, that just required a lot more popularity or more interaction throughout the community. They just kind of did their job and went about it. Us 3 kids had a great upbringing. We always talk about how our parents really raised us to be who we are today, because I think how they raised us was very unconventional compared to what I see today, and maybe it wasn't back then, but I started mowing lawns at a very young age because my dad and mom couldn't afford. We were very low, if not upper poverty. We were a low middle class, upper poverty class. We didn't, month to month. So I started working because I wanted to have basketball shoes, or I wanted to have something, So I quickly learned. It's not that I didn't like that my family didn't give us those things.
Yeah.
I also appreciate all that they had done, and I didn't want them to feel guilty or bad about what they couldn't give us, because I knew they felt that, and we don't need to call them out on it. I think in today, our kids don't see that. They don't see the hard work our parents put in and don't appreciate the good old dollar. So I learned quickly right there about hard work and to appreciate what you do have and what you can get through hard work. Through my early years, I don't remember much of my early years because it was overwhelming. I remember the first time I learned to spell my last name. I was in music class in elementary, and they said, put your name on this, and I need you to put your last name on there too. And I spelled David all the time, but I was like, oh, Hanson. I've never had to spell my last name. And I was freaked out because son can be spelled so many different ways.
Mm-hmm.
And the 2 I knew of was S-U-N and S-O-N.
Yeah.
And I quickly thought to myself, okay, I'm the son of my dad, so I'm going to go S-O-N. It was correct.
Yeah.
And then using logic and just thinking through it, and versus sun meaning a bright thing in the sky, I'm like, that doesn't seem to make sense for a last name, so I'm going to go son because I'm my dad's son.
Yeah.
So that instilled my sense of like, okay, risk take, done it. And that risk actually allowed me never to ever have that worry about spelling it again, because it was such a moment that ingrained in my head because of the fear, the anxiety, the stress, and then all of a sudden, oh, I did it right. And then it just puts it all away. And that's good. And I think it goes back to when I was trying to get through some of these courses, and I would surround myself with the girls in my class because they would take care of me more from that, motherly instinct, and got me and understood me and wouldn't pick on me like the boys and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But that's what got me through school in that sense. And what took me to college was my athletics part. But I quickly learned when I entered the educational field that there was not a lot of males. And I think back to my elementary years, there was principals were the males.
Mm-hmm. Former coaches.
Coaches were the males. And then there was two teachers that were males. I had one of them, which I liked. My college years, I got to do my student teaching. My first student teaching was with a male teacher, and I enjoyed it, so I got to see it from that standpoint. But what I quickly learned that they all had in common is that they were very much in touch with their caring feeling, their more sensitivity feeling. It's tough. Nobody's ever said anything to me, but it's that perspective that you see. When I'm in a room full of a bunch of females that are great individuals, and I'm this young or, not your typical teacher person, male teacher that is, it's very frustrating mentally because it's just like, are they going to take me serious? Because I'm not what they're used to. It's challenging, and I think the biggest challenge is, you know, we always have to be a lot more alert, and that's wearing down, and it's a sign of what we face today in a lot of things is we just don't have that trust anymore.
Exactly.
We don't say, you know, I'm reading a great book by Maxim Gladwell on the strangers, you know, just understanding strangers, and like we are so quick to judge and make our perception of somebody based off of very little information. And then being a male teacher, sometimes people will make that perception right away, like, oh, you got a male, you're teaching junior high,
red flag.
Oh, and you're special ed, and that's not the case. So when I was kind of going through the last parts of my education stuff, I wanted to create something that, you know, I don't want it to be this huge blown up business and stuff, but I wanted to create something that was going to be more of a starting point for myself to be able to be part of something bigger. So I started Access Learning Academy. The reason I picked the word access is I think everybody, teachers, parents, anybody should have access to the proper learning, you know. And Academy is just, you know, we're going to do several things. I'm not going to be a one-stop shop. I'm going to be doing as much as I can. The logo represents, it's a lot of me. You know, the logo kind of...
Show the logo. The
logo kind of represents, so you got a turtle in here. And I really talk about the turtle because turtles have longevity. The spirit animal, in a sense, is one that, you know, thrives, you know, and kind of lives in two environments. It can live on land or in water, but on land it's very slow in labor. So these kids, land represents our weaknesses. Water is where you run and you can go fast and kind of live happy and go forth, and that's their strength. So I picked that turtle just for that sense. The koi fish represents adversity. And I did the whole yin and yang because you got to have so many things to kind of balance out life. But the koi fish represents adversity. My whole life I've always had to overcome adversity. I'm always the smallest. I'm always the underdog. I'm definitely the David versus Goliath world. But I love that. I strive off that. I feel that. But what fuels me also off of that is, you know, a good quote I read was, realistic people adapt to society. Unrealistic people adapt society to them. And when I say unreal, I'm not saying that in a cocky way, like you gotta be unrealistic. You know, I mean, boastful. It's be that, you know, go against the grain, be the change in something. Quit doing what everybody else is doing.
Exactly.
Because if you look at a lot of our innovators of technology and businesses and this whole world as a country, every one of those, one thing they have in common is they're unrealistic at the beginning. And they're still unrealistic, and that's why they keep changing, they evolving. But if we just stay in the cycle that we are, you're becoming less of a society or less of a person. So my whole life I've always been that person. I've had to overcome that adversity. I've always been that unrealistic person. The turtle has all the different points that represents compass. We sometimes think kids have to always go to college, always have to go here. Society, our parents, we always predict where they're going to go. I'm never going to predict my child's going to college. Do I want them to go? Yeah, that's a dream. But I want them to have their dreams. I want them to fulfill what they want to become by me guiding them with the right tools. But I'm never going to say you're going to college. I don't think that's for everybody. So I always say that, you know, the compasses represent that these kids, let them become who they are and go whichever direction they want to do. The shell of the turtle represents the brain, with the brain's, you know, synapses parts, so just different, all the wiring through it. So you got the left and right, and we know the language side is on the left. But you got the 5 components of effective reading instruction, and then I added it could be either one of those, and I didn't label them just for the fact that I don't think there should be one way versus the other, but I think the biggest one that we always have to put forth is the emotional one. I think the emotional piece is the part that we never address. Because those other 5 are great, but if you don't have that emotional part, now you address them all at once, but you always have to keep that one in the forefront because emotions within the kid, emotions within the family.
Right.
I've seen a lot of families go through hard times that when their kid learns how to read, they're like rejuvenated as a family, because it's that. I always live by a thing. It's like when it comes to financial world of working with kids, I work with the families because I'm not going to help fix a situation only to create another negative situation that they later have to fix. It's a self-destruction mode. So I work closely with them. I've had a lot of parents. I have a dyslexia wall built in my backyard, built by a bunch of fathers that helped build it. So I got a lot of people that, you build a family. So that emotional state is where it's at. But ultimately, they blossom into a flower. They bloom to what they want to become. So this logo means a lot to me. The guy that helped me do it, it took us over a year, but he's a great gentleman. But it represents me, but I think it represents so many other people too when it comes to that.